Contract costing is a cost accounting technique used to determine the cost of producing goods or services for a specific contract or project. It is commonly used in construction, manufacturing, and service industries. Under contract costing, the costs associated with a particular contract are identified and recorded separately from other contracts. The costs can be divided into two categories: direct costs and indirect costs. Direct costs include the materials, labor, and other expenses that can be specifically traced to the contract. Indirect costs are overhead expenses that cannot be directly attributed to a specific contract, such as rent, utilities, and administrative costs. The total cost of the contract is calculated by adding the direct and indirect costs. Once the cost of the contract is determined, it can be compared to the revenue generated by the contract to determine the profitability of the project. Contract costing is important for businesses because it helps to ensure that contracts are profitable and that costs are accurately tracked and allocated. It also helps businesses to identify areas where costs can be reduced or optimized for greater efficiency and profitability. Some of the common terms used in contract costing include: contract. A contract is a legally binding agreement between two parties, typically a customer and a supplier, that specifies the terms and conditions of the work to be performed. Contract period. The contract period is the period of time specified in the contract during which the work is to be completed. Contract price. The contract price is the amount of money agreed upon in the contract for the work to be performed. Progress payment. A progress payment is an installment payment made by the customer to the supplier as the work progresses, typically based on the percentage of completion of the contract. Retention. Retention is a portion of the contract price that is held back by the customer as security against defects or incomplete work. Retention is typically a percentage of the contract price and is released to the supplier upon completion of the work. Cost of production. The cost of production is the total cost incurred by the supplier to complete the work specified in the contract. Profit margin. Profit margin is the difference between the contract price and the cost of production, expressed as a percentage of the contract price. Direct costs. Direct costs are costs that can be directly attributed to the production of the work specified in the contract, such as labor, materials, and subcontractor costs. Indirect costs. Indirect costs are costs that cannot be directly attributed to the production of the work specified in the contract, such as overheads, rent, and utilities. Overheads. Overheads are indirect costs that are incurred by the supplier during the production of the work specified in the contract, such as rent, utilities, and administrative expenses.